Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and after my last review, which go check out my Tulip Fever review, I'm very excited to talk about this movie. It's Menashe. I really hope I got that right. I kept trying to remember how they said his name in the film. I think it's Menashe, and if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I felt like an idiot ordering my ticket at AMC today, because I'm like, I don't know how to say the title of this movie, but please know what movie I'm talking about. But this film's about a man who is a Hasidic Jew whose wife dies, and in their culture, as a man, you can't raise a child by yourself. So he's trying to balance, do I want to go after my religion and not just forcefully go into another marriage like he had before, or lose out potential in raising his own child? And this is a really impactful film and a very interesting film. This was directed by Joshua Z. Weinstein, who, from what I've heard, is mostly a documentary filmmaker. And what he does with this film feels like a documentary. I felt like I was watching real people, which honestly I think I might have been. The IMDb, there's not a whole lot of actors in this movie. I think there's a lot of real people in this film. But it's very intimate and engrossing how this film is told. You're very fly on the wall. You're right there. You're in it with these characters. And I really, really enjoyed that about this film. And it made me feel super connected. And I'm going to talk about this in a little bit with cinematography. You're going to hear some praise from me about handheld camera, which you don't get a lot. So enjoy. But in terms of the one big glaring thing about this film that knocks it down a notch for me is it's way too methodical. And it gets really slow for me at points. And this is an hour and 22-minute film. That's not good. But besides that, I love the rest of this film. It feels so organic and natural, the tone, because it feels like I'm there with actual people. I don't feel like I'm watching a film. I honestly feel like I'm watching some kind of dramatized documentary. And honestly, that's what I think Weinstein was going for. And he extremely succeeded, because I felt so connected with these characters, and it was so heartfelt and moving to go along this journey with this man, Menashe, trying to keep his son and prove that he could do this when everyone else in his community are looking down on him. And it's like, I feel for this guy, and that's really impressive. The cinematography was done by Weinstein and also Yanni Brook. This is handheld camera at its best, where you feel like you're right there, so intimate with the actors and everybody in this film. It's real up close. You get those intimate shots where you probably don't have a giant camera right in your face, and allows these actors to feel so organic. And the camera moves very well, and I feel like I'm standing in the room with them, and that's what handheld camera should be. So kudos to you, Mr. Weinstein, for putting together a fantastic film. And your name's all over this because you also wrote this, along with two other people. And you know me, if it's more than like two people, it's usually writer by committee. But I'm going out on a limb here and saying he wrote most of this and then had some other people helping him, kind of, I guess, like Lord of the Rings, where it's Peter Jackson's script, but had his wife and another person helping out with it. This is a compelling story. It really is, and it feels so humanistic. They feel like real people, and I appreciate that so much about this film, that I feel so connected and really enjoyed it. Now, in terms of, it's going to be funny to say world building about a movie that feels like a documentary, and I've noticed that I've started to really enjoy this about film, is where you are dropped in organically. There's no obnoxious exposition explaining the rules of this society. You're dropped in, and it feels very natural. You pick up on things, and you're lost in a different kind of world. And I'm going to make some interesting comparisons to this with Sicario and Hell or High Water and Wind River, where you feel like you're dropped into this different society that feels so weird and feels like this exists. Honestly, I live in New Jersey. This is a state over. Like, there's communities like this. There's probably communities like this right next door. And I know I live in an apartment complex with a very diverse population. And this really felt so natural, dropping into a world where I'm not familiar with it, but I really enjoyed the journey of seeing what this life is like for Hasidic Jews. and it was done so naturally and so well. And the characters, on paper, some of the characters look like they could just be cliches, but there's so many little nuanced things that are done with the characters where, like, there's a brother-in-law in this that honestly could have just been written off as a cliche jerk, but there's moments where you see him being very human and happy and stuff like that, and it's like, this guy's not a jerk, he just has a different perspective than what's going on with Menashe, and I respect that. The dialogue is so organic and natural and feels real, just to reinforce some of the other things I was talking about. And this film really deals with that idea of being rebellious against your beliefs for the sake of being rebellious, or do you need to be mature and prioritize other people in your life? Because honestly, it's a tug and pull between Menashe wanting his son back, but also refusing to go by his religious beliefs. And it's a very powerful conflict, and it's very interesting, and I was pulled in and I wanted to see how that resolved. The music's done by Aaron Martin and Dag Rosenquist, and it feels so natural and feels like it would feel like music that you would expect to be played around with Hasidic Jews and in their culture, and that really helped build the atmosphere and make it really feel natural, and it was very well done music too. I don't think there was a whole lot of it throughout the film, but it did its purpose very, very well. And the acting, everyone felt so natural and real, but this is just a shout out to Menashe Lustig, who played Menashe, and he did a fantastic job. And if this film got more attention, I think he could potentially deserve some kind of award, at least conversation. It's going to be a packed field, and let's be real, this is Daniel Day-Lewis's last year of acting. We know who's going to win that Oscar, but still, I think that Menashe Lustig did a fantastic job in this film. And my closing thoughts, this is a transportive and naturalistic experience where you're dropped into this different world, what feels like a foreign world. And honestly, that's probably one of the reasons why I love science fiction and fantasy so much, is I love being dropped into a different world and escapism, and this feels like a really natural, dramatic, escapist experience, being dropped into a different culture. That might just be in my backyard, and that's really interesting, and this is a fantastic film. If it's round you, it's pretty short too. It does have subtitles, which I was joking with my friend Vinny from Cinema Conversations, who does the blogs that I've done some sharing with, that I didn't realize it was probably going to be all in subtitles, but I probably should have guessed that. But it's a really good film. Go check it out. I'm going to give Menashe an A.